they can make it feel good to kill 20 people at one time, then I'm all in.
Hello and welcome to another Dead Pixel, a podcast about games, anime, life, a little bit of everything between. I'm your host, as always, Joe, and with me, the person who's all about that Infinity Nikki life, Nick. How you doing, Nick?
Yeah, this game is what we're gonna talk about later. So spoilers. Thanks for ruining the segment, Joe. Is loosely based on my life. Very, very
Yep,
loosely.
Nick's
Uh,
life as a
Magical girl.
not quite magical
Anime.
girl, but we've also talked about that in the past and how he loves to play dress up with little furry animals and photos of himself all the time. So yep,
Uh,
that all checks out. So all right, great.
if you were to describe
Uh,
me as a magical girl, I would say only one of those things is true.
yeah,
Yeah. Yep. Speaking of magic, uh, we've been having some Luca magic in the playoffs, in the NBA playoffs. Uh, I know I don't need to tell you because I'm sure you've been watching very closely and rooting for the Dallas Mavericks the way everyone else has. The Dallas Mavericks have made it into the NBA Finals, and so that is very important to everyone I know. And everyone's excited, and I just wanted to be the one to speak that truth into the world. So my life is going pretty good right now. But if they lose in the finals, then it will not be going as good. People are saying that the Boston Celtics, who they are going against, are going to beat them. Um, I don't know that. I I don't know that. But anyway, so I just wanted to mention all that. And yeah, how are you doing, Joe?
uh, better now that I have a thing that I can just razz you about. So all right, go Boston. No, I it's one of those things that I'm happy that you're happy.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah. I mean, it's yeah. I get it. I have a lot of people that are very into baseball in my life, and I don't dislike baseball, but I just don't have time for it in my life. Like I already have to have football in my life, which I like football, but like there's no getting around it. You have to be tangentially aware of what is going on in both college and pro football if you are to one be male and two live anywhere south of
So the Mason Dixon line.
the Mason Dixon
Football
line.
is
Yeah.
yeah.
I mean, I didn't want to say, I was trying to think of another one besides Mason Dixon line, but yeah, anywhere in any of the states that seceded from the Union, you must be tangentially aware of football. So that takes up at least 9 to 12% of my life, depending on how much energy I have. But basketball, I choose to be involved in anyway. So all that is to say, I understand, Joe. Thank you for listening to me talk about basketball a little bit sometimes on our podcast.
I don't remember if I mentioned it on the podcast before, but when I went to high school in Japan, uh, the coach of the basketball team at my school, he was noted to be there's like three coaches, and he was the mean one. And it was just funny because he's like, oh, Wisconsin. He has spoke like zero English. He's like, Wisconsin? He's like, Bucks. And I'm like, yes. And apparently Bucks were doing really good that year, and I had no idea. So he had recorded the games on VHS and had let me borrow them. I was like, cool. Yeah, I'm like, thank you. And I'd literally watch them just because he went through the effort of giving them to me. And yeah,
The
he
Bucks
he
sucked
then
back
later
then too. Like,
they did really good that playoff
okay,
season. Like
maybe.
it was surprising. But I think he was a 76ers fan or something. Um,
Okay.
But and like I think they ended up winning, or they came really close to that year. But it was just really funny because
Was
he's
that in
like
2000 or
uh
2001 around that time?
2001, yeah. I think it was roughly around that
Because
time.
that's when they had Iverson, and yeah, they got to the finals. They got bounced after 5 games, but yeah, Iverson was a pretty big deal. Yeah.
It was funny because we were running for an assembly in the gym, and as we're running by, I pass him, and oh, no, it's like that's it. That was it. I was passing him for a different reason, but I was in a rush, and so I bowed to him, and I realized he came up for a high five, like he went up, but I had blew by him already. And as I bowed, and I just went by, I'm like, oh shoot. And then next time it happened, we were going to an assembly, and he raised up his hand again, and I high fived him as I just ran by, just as we did it, and it was funny because I was a second year in Japan, and so the first years came to like two first years came to a dead stop. We were all mid sprint, then just stone cold stop. Looked at me like I was like God, and they were like Sugoi, and like it was super funny.
So cool.
It was great. So that was like the only real like interaction I had with him because we didn't, like he said, zero English, like zero Japanese at the time. Uh, wasn't going to tell him I didn't give a dang about basketball. I'm like, oh, yay Bucks for doing all right that year, because they were generally always garbage at that time.
Yeah, that must have been
Uh,
one of the rare years that they did well. Yeah. All right,
it was like,
Joe Hunkel, god of high school. That's funny.
uh, well, everyone knew my name. I didn't know anyone else, but like, oh yeah, it was one of those things that if you ever wanted to feel like a celebrity out of nowhere, like it's the weirdest experience to be a foreign exchange student. That's for darn sure.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, that was that, and uh, I was usually always into, like, if I had to do basketball, being Wisconsin area, Bucks were always a good solid one. Oh, wait, rolling to the Bucks real quick. I happened to be visiting family up north over the holiday weekend. Coming down, uh, I happened to see a sign that said 599 miles, and it showed a Bucky's emblem. Like, I'm like, wow, zero name, just the face, and I'm like, if and it just kind of blew by real quick. I'm like, dang it, I wish I took a photo for you, Nick.
That's funny. Yeah, I mean Bucky's is going to take over at least the United States and probably most of the world eventually. Will either all work for Bucky or be dead by his hand before it's all said and done. Yeah, I don't know. It's a good spot. If you ever get a chance to go to one, I highly recommend it just to see. Um,
I saw someone post the job positions for Bucky's and how they pay
they do pay really well.
decently, and then they
Some
were like,
stuff, yeah.
manager for car wash, 6 figures. I'm like, dang.
Yeah, that and then they have other manager positions and stuff like that are really really well paying. You go in one of those, and I mean, they have one of the signs says pumps for days. They just have like tons and tons of gas pumps. You still can't get a spot very easily most of the time. But yeah, it's just a good place. I like to say that, Bucky's is where dreams come true and the nightmare never ends. And if you don't,
So,
you can't understand what that means until you go in there.
Well, I guess coming from you, an Arkansanian or whatever, and you've forsaken your Walmart heritage.
Yeah, man, Walmart just sucks. It was good. Like I grew up next to a Walmart, and it's good if you are not a person of means. It will get you by, and it's really great for that. But we have HEB here in Texas, and man, HEB is great. It's a grocery store. It stands for Herbert E. Butts. The guy did not want to put his Butts name on a store, so he's like, well, let's just call it HEB. Anyway, it's not too expensive. It's not like Target expensive, but it's not like Walmart cheap. And it's just right in the middle, right what you want. So yeah, Walmart was great growing up, but we got better stuff in Texas here now.
All right. Well, I'll talk about getting the better stuff. As always, Nick takes the news, and he always gives us what he feels is the best. So take it away, Nick.
So we had two main things. First main thing is that some 5090 NVIDIA 5090 card specs been leaking around a little bit. Where to go with this? So some of this stuff is from as far back as the 23rd. Some of it is from 2 days ago, or May 29th. So I'm sure more is going to be kind of leaking around, and all these are rumors, so it's not really super substantiated yet. But yeah, it's going to be more powerful. It is going to be the memory bus is going to be 512-bit, which is 33% wider than the 4090. 77% increase over the 4090 in memory bandwidth. They're thinking maybe it'll reach 1800 gigabytes per second. Memory modules, 28 gigabytes per second, or GBps of GDDR7 RAM, I guess. 33% faster. So that's 33% faster than the 21 gigabytes in the 4090, and then the video memory is going to be 28 gigabytes. People are assuming, instead of the 32 gigabytes from the 4090, and then CUDA cores up to 24,000-ish, 24,500. It's they're thinking it might take up 2 PC expansion slots instead of 3 or 4, which is what the 4090 is going to take up, or is taking up now. And it may have 2 fans for cooling. So yeah, it's so there's some stuff kind of leaking around. It seems interesting. It's going to be expensive, obviously. Oh, the final thing is that they're thinking as early as late 24, so later this year, but a lot of people are also saying probably more like 25, early 25. I don't know about
It's
that.
traditionally always been like fall. So unless if there's some restraints, I mean, I think that they'll still try to hit that, especially prior to holiday season. It just makes more sense that way. Generally,
Yeah.
it's like, they'll, rumor has it, if they follow previous, they'll release flagship and then 5080 shortly after. You always want to release your budget cards further down the road, because you want people to dish out the big bucks for your product. You don't want to give too many variants right away.
Well, you want the
So
people with money to be like, well, I'm just going to get the new one. I'm just going to get, yeah. You also want to favor them. I mean, I get it. Like you want to favor them first, because I don't. Well, that kind of leads me into another thing. I've been watching some videos on like the 4090 and stuff like that a little while ago, and basically what people that review those kind of conclude, who are not gamers and are not just pandering to the gamer audience, is they say like, this is not like, the 4090 is not for gaming. It's for more than that. You basically have to be making money off of the card with the work that you do before you should even think about buying it. And after thinking about that, I was like, okay, yeah, that kind of makes sense. Because like, I feel like a lot of the stuff that we see about are like, oh, this is not worth it. This is not worth it. It's like, well, it is if you literally make money off of that, 20% increase for $1,000 more. It starts to make sense. But for gaming, yeah, it just doesn't make sense. So anyway, all that's to say, you want to push your bigger cards. I get it, to the people who are gonna be looking to make money off of them.
I mean, I think it was so like the 4090 came out mid October, and then it was like mid November the 4080 came out, and you were looking at a price of like 1600 and 1200. So a lot of people were like, well, if you're the price performance, if you're already, and the Nvidia just completely jacked the prices up because they knew they could, because when they came out with the 3000 series, the 3080 was a killer deal for price to performance, and then all the scalpers, so that's why they changed variants, and they tried doing the scummy thing of how can we increase the price ourselves, and screw over the customer. And that's why the 40 series came out so darn expensive, uh, and it did poorly in the grand scheme of things, because a lot of people had the 3000 series cards and they didn't need to upgrade to a 4000 right away, and so many people are just angry.
Yeah,
But yeah, if you're already going to spend like 1200 on a 4080, you might as well spend a little bit. You're already
and that's what I
at
was gonna
that point.
say. Is they price it perfectly, so you're like you can talk yourself, because I nearly did, because you can talk yourself in, if you're at like a 4070, you can talk yourself into a 4080 and then into a 4090 by just going, well, if I just put out a little bit more, especially between 4070 and 4080, that's where they really want to get you. But even then at the 4080, you're like, yeah, but like, it's just money. And I really won't have to worry about anything else for a long time. And then you're like, it's, and oh, there's a little bit of a discount on the 4090, like, paltry, whatever, but it's a little bit. And you're there. You're just like, it's only like and then you're like, wait, I was thinking about spending $700 on a 4070 originally, and now I'm thinking about spending nearly $2,000 on a 4090. What is going on?
Yeah, you've easily doubled your initial base price. But
Yeah,
that's the thing. The 4090, though, the nice part was like, yeah, you can just redline everything. Just crank everything to the max without even thinking twice, and it runs as best as it can. Because if it doesn't run well, that's more of a issue with the software, not with your hardware.
yeah,
Uh,
it's not your problem. It's not the
so
problem is not with you. It's with the developers.
And yeah, so it's one of those things that I always would like to go with the 90 series card. I probably would have done a 3090 back in the day, but because of pandemic, it was just so hard to find. So
Yeah,
I settled with the just getting the 3080, which was a really good deal. And
yeah,
yeah, that was, but unfortunately, with the Blackwell coming out, and Nvidia focusing on AI GPUs selling to major companies for exorbitant amount of money. There's lots of rumors and speculation saying it's going to be slow to roll out, which will also create an artificial restraint, like straining, and then people are going to create a higher demand, pulling the Nintendo effect, where like, hey, but it makes sense that Nvidia is going to try to produce more AI cards to major companies and
yeah,
make, because they're reportedly making like, was it 8 to 10K per unit. Uh, but granted, those cards are very different. But still,
yeah.
it's that's where the money's at. Um, and they've proven time and time again at this point that Nvidia is just like, yeah, we can screw over the gamers because they come to us. We are the best currently, and who else are they going to go to? Now,
Yeah. I
that's why a lot of
mean,
people.
AMD's been the only other one so far. And
It really
isn't
has.
Intel thinking about, hasn't I've been hearing about Intel trying to make a card at some point?
No, they've been making cards this last round, but they are very much
Third.
the highest they go is the mid range. So they're mid to low range, but they're very good for to performance. But the other trade off is they're still learning. Essentially, they are
Yeah.
getting their feet wet because you'll see an update or you'll see talk about, and it now plays The Witcher at like something like 200% better, which means it was broken before. It
Yeah.
obviously didn't work hardly ever, but now it's doing. But they did whatever drivers or updates, and
Yeah.
but they've really been taking care of and taking the time to really work on their cards,
Yeah.
and so the Intel is coming at it and looking at we're going to go for low to mid range, and that's where we're going to focus on. AMD has very much got that mid range locked up. They can't get to that high peaks of Nvidia, and unfortunately FSR is not as good as DLSS, and that's where I guess the Nvidia spending all their money. They're spending all their money on the software, the tech stuff, and there's just certain features you can't get anywhere else. And so if you really want ray tracing, uh,
Yeah.
granted each AMD is getting better every time with ray tracing, but once again, Nvidia seems to be pushing that envelope and doing just that much better, which is they're staying ahead of the pack. So you kind of get what you pay for in
I,
a lot of
I
respects.
just feel like I
But
just feel like Nvidia. I mean, freaking Intel was on top of the world with CPUs forever, and AMD just kept hanging around until the Ryzen stuff started coming out, and now I feel like depending on what you're looking for, an AMD CPU is just as good and a lot of times better than an Intel CPU at whatever price point you really want to spend. And so now Intel's kind of like, oh shit, we should have been freaking making GPUs a long time ago. So they're playing catch up, and I feel like Nvidia's on top of the world right now. I wouldn't, personally, I've thought about investing in them, but their stock is so high right now. I don't think that like it's a good bet because I feel like they can only come down. Um, and I just feel like AMD is hanging around. Like they're gonna do to Nvidia like they did to Intel, where they are going to come up with a breakthrough, poach enough talent, and come through with a card that is almost as good or just as good for like a season, and then kind of stay on par with Nvidia and start and then be like basically the real kings because they'll have both GPUs and CPUs basically on lock or highly competitive. Anyway, that's just kind of my thinking because I just feel like Nvidia's been on top for so long. I don't know how long it can last.
um, that's the hope, right? Is good competition is only good for the customer in the end, because we win in the end. But unfortunately, I honestly don't see that happening. Um, Nvidia, despite being kind of greedy people, well, all corporations are, but it's just unfortunately, uh, you can see the way Jensen's running the company. Uh, but they are also, like I said, they have the cutting edge tech, the R&D. So AMD is always a very good. I don't want the latest greatest features. I don't need them to be the best. I'm very much happy with second place. Uh, you know, then you're better off for for your dollar
Yeah,
in as a whole. Also, they're more AMD tried doing that earlier. They're like, hey, let's also gouge our prices, but then they're also the first ones to drop their prices. So now you can get like, was it the 7900 GPU for which is a really solid GPU for quite a bit cheaper than you originally get. So it becomes a better value proposition. Once again, so long as you don't necessarily need or really just want those high end NVIDIA features, then that's the way to go. Um, Now, as far as CPUs go, AMD is the best for gaming, but as for a lot of other tasks, Intel still leads the pack, and also percentage wise, just overall in the market. Um,
yeah,
AMD has a good, solid following. But as a whole, Intel clearly is leading the pack still. They are not in fear of losing that top spot, but they are losing the gamers slowly. But at
Yeah.
the same time, because Nvidia is everywhere, I'm not sorry Nvidia, but Intel is everywhere as far as CPUs go. They have any pre-built you get, there's a high chance that Intel is going to be there anyways, unless if you choose the option to go with the AMD route. And
Yeah, I think they're like in all
but
the
for,
Dells. I think like every
what so
freaking business machine has an Intel in it, just about.
PC enthusiasts, those who like to build themselves, they're the ones doing the research. So, and if you're into gaming, then chances are you'll end up doing AMD, just because their newer line of gaming, CPUs are really good. Uh, but that's only been the last couple generations, and so yeah, that's kind of a new turnaround for sure because it was always a uh, I had, like if I finally got myself an AMD unit because it was a good deal. But other than that, like I hadn't had one for I don't know, maybe 8 years.
Hmm.
That one I was not happy with. It was a complete AMD unit, GPU, CPU, and it wasn't the most stable. I was overseas at the time too, so
Yeah.
I wasn't very happy with my experience, and
Yeah, I
that's
mean,
what
if
made me
you're like, things have changed a bit. I think AMD
oh, for sure,
is a
for
lot,
sure. AMD's
more
really gotten
reliable than
better,
they
but
used to be. Um,
it took a while for that
yeah.
stigma, like for me to finally get over that. And once again, I like the feature sets Nvidia offers for GPUs. Unfortunately, uh, I wish they weren't trying to gouge us in prices so much.
Well, I guess that's kind of what I wanted to get back to is you keep if you're Nvidia and you keep playing around and gouging people, um, and playing these games and stuff, then one day, if and when AMD or maybe Intel get reasonably close, people are going to go, "Hey, this is a much better value," and you're going to lose a lot of customer base really quick, and maybe give a company like that a chance to propel ahead. I mean, we see it like the parity is not nearly the same in that world, but like PlayStation and Xbox, we've had a couple of generations changing hands where the arrogance of one leads to the success of the other, and back and forth. It probably won't be like that for Nvidia for a little while yet, but it certainly could happen, as time goes on.
Yeah, I don't see it happening anytime in the near future. But once again, the sooner the better, for sure.
Yeah.
And if you really, like I said, it's if you are happy with omitting certain features, then bang for your buck. Generally, AMD is a better outcome in the end.
Yeah.
But yeah, all right. Like I said, with this new plus with the rumors of the new the new cards in general. I mean, people are talking about rumoring um, 400 to 500 watts allegedly for the 5090 GPU, which is insane. The amount of power like
Like, what is that
draw.
translating to your bill? Like, how many more dollars is that adding to your bill, electric
That
bill?
depends on where you live, right? But just put it this way: a lot of small form factor PCs, the ones that the ones that are like a cereal box size, right?
Hmm.
Something much smaller. Uh, Generally for those, all you would really need is like at best is like a 500-watt power supply. Um,
Okay. Yeah.
I mean, I think I'm running 700 with my 3080,
Yeah.
um, and so yeah, that's but that's the thing is things are becoming with the higher tier performance. Uh, they're like, well, let's just give all the power and just that's how you're going to crank it up to 11, right? Feed it more power. It's going to produce you more frames. Be happy with what you get what you want. You just have to pay for it. So
I
I'm
mean,
kind of curious to
I
see how
do
this
like that
plays
as
out.
an option. Within I guess I like the option of being able to spend a stupid amount of money to get a stupid amount of frames or ray tracing or pixels or whatever. I want the option, even if it's out of my price range. I want to know that I could buy a super yacht if I had enough money. Um, that's that's comforting to me somehow.
Well, I mean, knowing that it's always there, it's the one thing is, you want them to produce the craziest thing possible because that means the next step down there's still a lot of headroom, but hopefully it'll be a more affordable thing for price to performance. So, yeah, we'll see. Once again, I'm expecting these cards to be very hard to get come across, and especially with AI boom and it's like it's going to be another pandemic situation in a lot of ways because gamers who bought the 30 series cards during the pandemic, they're now they're now starting to feel that it's long in the tooth. 30 series cards are still perfectly fine.
Yeah,
Um, but if you got anything like the lower end 30 series cards, 3060,
yeah,
certain games with the RAM and stuff like that, they're becoming a little more troublesome. And so people are, it's about the right time to start upgrading for a lot of those people.
yeah.
And of course, anyone who had the 20 or somehow still have a 10, like a 1080 or something like that, you're most definitely should upgrade by now.
Yeah.
But I'm expecting this to be hard to get, and I'm expecting to be a nightmare. Plus, everyone gets bots, and with a new GPU comes a new Bitcoin boom always because you're going to do a bet. It's going to produce
Yeah,
better, more
that's what I
efficient.
was wondering, worried about if because Bitcoin is popping off right now, which makes all the other cards or all the other coins pop off. So I don't think that we're running into that kind of shortage based on that right now. But if AI kind of comes to a regular PC household more or less, or can be done by enthusiasts, then and there's money to be made in it, which I think there probably will be. Uh, then I think we could see another shortage. So my recommendation to anybody that's thinking about waiting is probably don't. Wait for a little deal or whatever, get the card that fits into your price point and your needs, and just do it now because there's gonna be a shortage. It may not be right away, but it's gonna come, and you're gonna be like, dang it, why didn't I just freaking get the card that I knew I needed and could afford when I could, rather than trying to wait for some 50, 70 or whatever. Anyway.
Yeah, you waited a whole generation
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I kind of came into it because I really couldn't get a 30 series card until they were already on shortage. I think I probably could have gone for like a 3070 or a 3060 maybe, and I really should have just done that um, at the time. But anyway, it's just lessons learned.
Yeah, well, I mean, good for you for finally upgrading your rig, or you're in the process
Oh
of it,
yeah, I
but
guess
you're still moving in.
like I said that to you before the cast. Yeah, so I did just buy a 4070 Super, um, and I looked around for I didn't tell you this part, but like I looked around for the kind of the higher level ones around 750 or whatever. I ended up getting just a dual fan instead of a triple fan, just a dual fan for like 600 even, because I was like, this is not going to be a 4K card for me. Um, the system that I put it in is already kind of old in other ways. It's not old, but kind of old in other ways. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to spend a little less and be ready for all the current gen games, um, and upgrade to a 4080 at some point or a 5080 because that'll probably be about the time that I will be able to, as well as when those are more or less coming out, and I'll be totally fine until then. So I was just like, I'm just not gonna spend. I'm not gonna overspend because I was thinking, I was at 750 and then it was like 800 for some cards. And I was like, yeah, then there's like just a little bit more in the 4080s. No, just I paid a good price. It's a good card. It'll get me through for a couple of years.
Expect the new 5090s. My guess is honestly October. Like I can see him pushing it to Q1, but
Why?
I don't think they would.
Mm.
I think they'd rather launch. They'd have a paper launch as we called it before. Have very little stock, but launch it and like with, uh, good, a good sell through rate and people then thirsty for more.
Yeah.
So I expect that to happen because they're not going to wait until they sit on a big stock and be like, yeah, everyone can have one. No, they want you to hunger for it and suffer that the FOMO and be like, I need to get like before when you're like, oh, maybe I'll get one, but we'll see. But then it's like, oh, I can't get one. Now I want one. So yeah, that's a
All
good
the
game.
all the Twitch streamers and YouTube idiots touting their 5090 Founders Edition cards. Their lights
Yeah.
flicker from the power drop.
Well, that's the thing is, then of course everyone getting angry at YouTubers, influencers who build PCs like, I can't believe you're just launching your build in front of us and blah blah. We can't even get it. And like, come on, guys, this is what they do. I mean,
PC Master Race.
yeah. So enjoy. I'm curious to see what you got to let us know what you christen the your new build with, to see what's all in your in glory.
Well, like another reason that I went for a little bit cheaper card is because I hope that they still have it on sale by the time I'm ready to buy it. But probably in July, I am hoping to get a 21 by 9, 45-inch LG. I forget all the model number for it, but basically an LG monitor. Because I've been wanting a wider screen monitor for a while. I was thinking that the Gigabyte, the Samsung G9, Neo G9, whatever.
That's the super ultra wide, the G9.
Yeah, it's 32 by 9, and it looks good, but it's really just too much.
My old boss had one for no reason other than the fact that the accountant he's like get me a good monitor, and the accountant's like, okay, let's get you this.
No, we're gonna get you a good monitor.
It was just like one of those things like, oh, he's boss is out of the office today. All right, let's go inside and let's look at his monitor.
Yeah,
the sucker was amazing. But yes, that is literally like 27 inches put together.
I mean, it's basically the setup that I have now, the dual monitor setup I have now. Obviously glossy and much better, but the actual setup is still basically the same. But the more videos I watched, the more kind of little problems, ticky tack issues I saw that were there, and I was just like, this is not really. This is like that's going to become. I'd really rather just go down to a one monitor setup for the main thing, and then place two smaller monitors above it for other stuff that I might need. It's going to be better for gaming overall.
I highly recommend you looking at monitors unboxed. This year has been a great year for OLED. 4K OLED monitors.
I know. I've looked at them, and that there's an Alienware DWF 34-inch, and it's 21 by 9, and it's good. It's supposed to be like the best value overall, but I just don't. What he's valuing in that the highest. It's just not what I'm valuing. I think that
Well, it depends. It depends if you're looking at if you want the wide color gamut for like if you're doing productivity or gaming. I know Gigabytes has a really good solid OLED monitor, but then then you get to dive in the depth of do you want a WOLED or compared to not. So
Yeah,
uh,
and that's
the
and that's where this LG fits in. It's a little bit more into my sweet spot. Also, the price has dropped considerably. Even from when I first started looking, it was like 1,200, and now it's like 1,100. Um, and the Alienware is good. It's really good. But it's just there's some other things where I was like, yeah, this is really kind of hitting on the gaming aspect. And none of them are perfect for like if you want like a good like color gamut monitor, you have to go with a like a 16 by 9 and a smaller one. And I'm just like, I don't need the color to be that perfect. I want it to be 98, 99%, whatever, but it doesn't have to be like ultra like 150%. So I'm just kind of looking for the right sweet spot. And the guys on Monitors Unboxed or whatever, they do a good job. They're right about what they're looking for, but it's just not exactly what I'm looking for.
Let's see. The thing is, they have. I don't know if you which ones you're looking at because they do a good job about hitting all price points and brackets of value per aspect. So the other thing is, I mean, so if you're looking at a 21 by 9, are you looking at 1440p or 4K? Um,
Well, that's the thing too is that it's going to be a 1440p. There is a newer model of the LG that I'm looking at that is $1,700. And it's a little brighter, but it's also 1440p. And there are rumors that people seem to believe that next year they're going to come out with a 4K model of the same TV, or sorry, the same monitor. So I was like, okay, I'm going to get this one this year for cheap and not get the newest model. And then next year, spring for the 4K if it's in the budget and I feel like I can use it or whatever. But I think as a monitor, because I don't want to get stuck with like being like, it's 1440 for the old monitor, 4K for the new one. I'd rather pay a little less and be okay for a little while, and then if it fits in, then you get the 4K model. But yeah, there are supposed to be 4K models coming to that situation soon.
Yeah, well, they're starting to finally dish out the 32-inch 4Ks, and that's kind of my sweet spot. I do have a 21 by 9, but it's just a budget, ultra wide, which I like a lot. Does serves me just fine.
Yeah,
1440 or it's 1440p, and you know what? That's just fine. The thing is, everything I've heard, the OLED, even last year that was the big thing is 1440p OLED monitors like hitting the market and people were giving up their 4K monitors because the 1440p OLED just looked that much better.
yeah,
And now that they're finally getting, OLEDs in 4K, I think 32 inch is the right size. It's for what you need or
yeah,
for an average person, and the when you go 21 by 9, it gets dependent. It really does get down to what are you using it for. If you're using it for productivity, editing and stuff like that, photography, then you need it's always assumed that you need a flat panel, so opposed to a curved, because you get the better colors out of it. uh, I think I just want, for the longest time I wanted that G9, but
yeah.
I also wanted it for like flight sim. you know
Yeah, I mean, there's
uh
some badass stuff that you can do with that. Like I've seen people with three G9s, next to each other, and they basically create a freaking cockpit
Yep.
It's
That's the
wild.
real popular thing to do, or you double stack them if you want to do productive work, and then you can have
Your whole
your video
timeline,
timeline on one.
yeah,
Yep,
that would be
exactly.
freaking lit. Yeah,
A lot of editing, and I'm like that's all great. But I realize with what I have and what I need, I think the 32-inch OLED would probably be my sweet spot. Uh, but also then for that price, yeah,
well,
because they use generally for like anywhere from you're looking at like 12, more like 13 to 1700 for a lot of that stuff. Um,
yeah,
and I'm like, for that price, I might as well get myself the new a new actual TV, a new 77-inch TV.
yeah. You might as well go with the LG C3 or whatever.
Yep, that's
And
exactly. And
yeah,
then it's like, I'll probably wait till next year before I upgrade any of that. So that's the thing is I have everything I need now. Depending on how next year goes, then I'll start to upgrade because I'm still running. My old LG OLED is great, but it doesn't have VRR support, so it's old.
yeah.
It's not current gen as it were.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. My dad, I told him to get the new LG because they were looking for a new TV, and they got the C3. And I don't know if it's like if it's the direct TV that they get or if there's their settings or whatever, but I don't feel like it's as good as mine. And mine's a
bring your
C2.
PlayStation over and play 4K a 4K Blu-ray and see how it looks on theirs.
But it's all but I mean they use Netflix and I use Netflix and I watch theirs. I think they probably have the brightness setting not turned all the way up. I'm wondering if when it came out of the box, I don't know. I just look at it and I'm just like, this is not blowing me away. And I come home and I'm like, my TV still blows me away with how
Well,
freaking good it is. Um, Not to like say there aren't better TVs out there and shit, but I don't know. Maybe I don't know. I've just been kind of thinking about that in the back of my mind for a little bit, but yeah. Anyway, so like a lot of the stuff that they do with like monitors and boxed is that they're really worried about frame rate, and I'm like, dude, anything over 120 frame rate, I just cannot give a crap about it because I'm not a Twitch gamer, and I
okay,
don't need.
you're running a 970 like on your current PC. The So if you go back to a lot of your old stuff that you've played for a long time, go ahead and when you get the new GPU put up, um run it at higher frame rate, higher settings, because your TV will at least do 120 and you'll notice a big difference.
I don't know. I mean,
um
yeah, I like
it,
yeah.
it's that rarefied air. You don't miss what you don't got.
I know, but like I don't miss what I don't got. But like I am not I'm not the kind of person that plays competitive like online games where you need every single frame. Um, and like I don't really need the millisecond response time to be down to like zero point 0.1 or 0.03 or whatever. And it's like I'm just looking at it, I'm just like if that's what I'm paying for um, instead of a larger screen size and OLED or whatever. Like I don't need that. That's not what I'm really looking for. I'm looking for, single player games mostly, and I'm looking to and if I play online with other people, I'm never going to get good enough for those extra FPS to really matter. So that's just kind of where I landed on it, and I don't know. It'll still be July before I can buy that, but it is what I've been thinking about a little bit. So I thought I'd
Yeah.
share.
When I got one of the things is I was never into frame rates and stuff, and I am not a frame rate snob. But when I got my 3080, I was able to start playing things at 120, and like because the average cheap monitor I had only went up to 60, and going from 30 to 60 is a huge difference, and going up to 120 is still very noticeable. Um, the Unfortunately, a lot of the consoles don't go up to 120.
Yeah,
They barely do 60, so it's generally 30 to 60, and that's how it is. So it's kind of you don't miss what you don't have, but if you
yeah.
actually start to get to it, you realize you do start to adapt. And
And then
unfortunately, the PC settings, give you a lot more flexibility. But when it comes to like PS5 or something like that, you're like, all right, well, you can kind of see the difference depending on certain games. Some games will do it well, some games will not. Um, and when you start to when you start to get that sweet spot, you're like, all right, you do appreciate. You may not necessarily need, but playing a single player game, like I remember Final Fantasy being able to play that. Whatever that newest one was. That wasn't 15. That was 16. Or
Oh yeah, 16.
the So I was able to play that, and having the extra frame rate actually was noticeable.
Okay.
I was willing to sacrifice quality to have that frame rate. I'm like, this it feels nicer. And same with that was one of the first games I got for my GPU was Control, and
Mm,
Control was really nice, especially since I played it on. I also played it on PS4, um, and it was so much nicer just to have it running at like 60.
yeah.
It wouldn't necessarily run at certain parts; it was bad, but uh, mostly because I had to crank down the other settings. But having it run at 60 was really nice, and it just felt there is something there.
Yeah.
But once again, I never knew it. I never knew it because I was always like playing 30 old consoles, old GPU, and like I said, my monitors would never. None of my cheap monitors would go above 60, 1080 60.
Yeah.
So that was
I
the
mean, I
thing.
might
So
be
that's
back
when
here
I
in
finally upgraded.
I might be back here in 3 months and saying that anything less than 120 FPS is garbage. That's totally possible. I might be like, oh, I had no idea what I was missing. Now I know why I miss all those parries and why I miss all those dodges in Sekiro or whatever. That might be that. Maybe I'm a really great gamer. I'm just being held back by my crappy frame rate. I don't
It's
know.
your equipment. It's always your
It's
equipment. It's
always
never you.
it's never me, never me. It's always the mouse. Anyway,
All right. All right. Now, PlayStation had the state of play, and you were kind enough to pretty much jot down the entire lineup. So yeah, let's go through this.
yeah. So state of play. Um, I guess we'll save our overall impressions of the state of play for the end. But yeah. So we'll start off with Concord, which we get a pretty long cinematic with some gameplay at the end. So this is a game that got teased last year, and like we're seeing a lot of it now. I don't know why everybody has to make an Overwatch, or why everyone's making an Overwatch here in 2024. 10 years later.
Well, I would say they're not making it in 2024. They were making it in like 2021, 2020.
I mean, and if I know I keep bringing up, I keep bringing up Deadlock, but like that's been in production for 6 years. But I mean, like original Overwatch came out in 2014, right? So I would expect these games to have come out 5 years ago, minimum. If it's like, oh, Overwatch is doing good, hey, we could kind of do that. Let's do it. And then so they start production in 2015, maybe, and then 4 years. Let's say be generous, 4 years. So 2019, maybe 5 years. 2020. That's when I would expect these games to really be coming out, and I would feel like it was kind of long in the tooth then. But I'm just like it's 10 years later, guys. Like, and these are, I mean, we're kind of hearing rumors about doubt of the validity of a live service game. And, there's been other hero shooters that have kind of come around and died as well. I don't know. It just seems weird that Concord and Deadlock, and then there's another one, Marvel Rivals, which we'll talk about, are coming out. But I don't know. It looks like Concord has money that's been put into it. Looks nice. I think we were saying. I think you said it looks like Guardians of the Galaxy. It definitely has that vibe to it.
It has that vibe. It's setting that tone. The first trailer, the teaser trailer, which was just a very much a tonal piece. They're like flying into Event Horizon or something like that with rainbow colors, and it's and they're playing a what I felt was a slower and slightly off tone, but like the theme to Escape from New York
Right.
in the background. So you had the 80s synth, and it was very reminiscent of that in that teaser trailer. And then in this trailer, listening in the background, I'm like, there was a tone in there. I'm like, oh, that's totally Donna Summers. But like it's invoking that like late disco
I feel
vibe.
love. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's great though because I was just like, it really did set that mood, and it's one of those things that the actual acting or like the way they set it up was kind of nice. It was like, yeah, they really had fun with that cutscene. They are allegedly going to be coming out weekly or something like that with new cutscenes, which tells me that they have a full like campaign, as it were, like an actual story. They've already did the cutscenes, and then they're just going to be like, cutting it to bite-sized bits, which it's great because people would have been, like the problem with Overwatch is they promised story content, never provided the story content, then promised it, like did all sorts of back and forth on that. The fans would have been happy, would have just been okay with if they just gave a steady drip feed of new story, lore, this, that, the other thing. But unfortunately, they didn't. And a lot of people I think would be more happy with a single player game uh, of Concord and then giving these characters story, a campaign mode, as it were. But you
Yeah.
can't do that. Yeah,
It.
and the whole thing is you need to bleed your customer dry.
Yeah. And that's Overwatch's biggest regret is that they did not release it free to play rather, and get whales and stuff like that. But it was just before that idea had really taken hold of the whole industry. Um,
Well, they really were the spearhead of the loot box, as it were, the cosmetics and the
yeah,
random loot chests. A lot of people day one, where like they spent the high tier to do, I forget how many, like
yeah,
100 pulls or something like that. And the problem is when you did that, you pretty much got all the costumes right out the gate, and you're like, all right, now it kills any progression, you know.
Well,
So
the problem with that is that you had to have already bought the game to be able to have the privilege to buy even more, and that's where they messed up, and their regret is, and that's why they
well,
created Overwatch 2,
they
which is not a new game. It's not a
It's
new
been free to play
mechanic.
for a while before Overwatch 2. Yeah, it's been
Yeah,
free to play for a handful of.
they finally did that, but they couldn't do that for the longest time, for years. I mean, it's only been free to play for what, 2 years now. It's not been free to play
It's
that long.
it's been free to play for a while, since before Overwatch 2, like
Well,
years
yeah,
before Overwatch 2.
not all that. I mean, we're talking about 2014 here, so it was years. There were specials and deals and stuff like that, but like by making it free to play, you make all the people that paid for the base game, who are your most diehard fans, go like, "What the f, man? Like, I paid for this." It's it's a big problem that they had, and that's why they created Overwatch. That's why they finally had to go free to play, and also why they kind of created Overwatch 2, so they could kind of just skirt around that, because it's not a new game. It's the same. It's the same game.
Well, they unfortunately, yeah, they promised too much with Overwatch 2, came out with nothing, and in the end, uh, it just, it lost me years before Overwatch 2, and there's only so much you can do. I mean, when you got a lot of those hero shooters, I mean, you have to keep on innovating something. I mean, that's why there's not a lot that stick around. I mean, currently, what the best looks like, you have Valorant is still a hero shooter that's uh,
Yeah, that
seemingly
one's,
liked by
yeah.
those who play. I
People
mean,
play that.
that's the big hero shooters are also, a lot of them end up being was it the like Apex? Apex, you get the hero abilities, but it's also a battle royale. So that's
Yeah, I was gonna say
you
Fortnite is a battle royale, but it also, its characters have hero shooter type qualities, right? It's a little bit more
skins.
personality.
It's mostly just
It's just
skins.
skins. Okay, I never played Fortnite.
Mostly, I know they do. So that's a different can of worms, because I know there's the whole lobbies, and you can goof off and stuff like that. And they do some neat stuff. At least they're keeping it fresh to a certain extent. Where like when they did the Dragon Ball collab, you're able to get like the Nimbus Cloud and like just fly around and have fun.
I'm just wondering what these studios are seeing with, putting all of this work, because this is a good looking game. This is a good looking game. I'm just wondering what these studios are seeing as far as what people want to play and are going to want to play for literally years. I mean, this is going to be a 5-year, 10-year game. Is their dream? It's probably like a decade long game before they do any kind of serious major upgrade, I would imagine. I'm just wondering what their marketing is saying to them. That's saying, or their projections are saying that people really are gonna, kids who are 10 years old are gonna want to play this until they're 20. I don't know.
Well, see, I think the goal is maybe 10 years is ideal. I think if they could make 5 or 6 years with steady income, that it will more than recoup costs, like
Pay for
X
itself.
amount of times over.
Yeah.
Because if they came out with the same game, single player campaign, you'll have something like Guardians of the Galaxy that Square came out with the other year. Was it 2 years ago now?
Yeah.
And that was a great game. Surprised a lot of people. Awesome story. Zero replayability, and it's just there's no extra revenue coming into them. Like, now you buy the game on sale, maybe, but most people don't think about it. While if you still have friends who might play a live service game, you can at least try to get other people to, that's your in. Whatever, if it's the streamer that you like to follow that they play on it, like, hey, I'll give that a shot, or my buddies are playing it, so why not? I'll give a dip, and then after you play it for a while, you're like, yeah, let me just throw a little extra cash this way, whatever loot box, whatever chat, like season pass, battle pass, whatever you call it. Yeah, that's kind of how they'll continue to make money. And even if you just dip your toe in every now and then, because some people do that for like Dota, like the invitationals or whatever, like during that time they're like, there's special events going on, I'll go ahead and put some money into it for the special seasonal stuff.
Like, that's the thing that I missed the most, which I never got into Dota because I think that scene's probably even better, but like that's what I missed the most about League of Legends. Playing League of Legends is understanding how the characters worked, how the champions worked, and then being able to watch like the pros and watch the championships and stuff like that, and like really enjoy them as a sport, because I already like sports as I mentioned earlier in this podcast and others. So that was a fun part of that. And so maybe there's an element of that's gonna come along here into play at some point.
Yeah. All right. But anyways, Concord looks unique. The promise of story, continuing story is interesting. Just that barrier of entry, we'll see how it goes. Don't know what the initial cost is. If it's going to be, I don't know if I saw anything about it being free to play out of the gate. If it is, then sure, it'd be interesting. But if you have to pay to enter, then I'm kind of curious. We'll see. Have to see after reviews, I suppose. But yeah,
this game
it has a fun idea, fun theme, interesting characters to a certain extent.
Yeah.
I would like it to succeed, just because it's unique and it's doing other things. This game
just looks, it's just begging to be a single player, or it's just begging for a story. It's just begging for me to like give me the story. That's it. I feel like they're gonna drip feed little bits of story out, and it just ruins it for me. I guess I'm just fucking old. I don't know. Call me weird. Whatever.
See, yep, you're weird and you're fucking old. Yep. No, it's once again, it's the problem is if they drip feed too slow, too long, people are gonna lose interest before before it gets to the climax of whatever story.
Yeah.
So. Yeah. All right. Next up, what do you got?
God of War Ragnarok is coming to PC, which we all could have guessed. I don't know when it said it was going to come. Let's see. I'm looking at this article. Arrive on PC of September 19th. So that's still a little ways away, but not too far. Just past the summer, basically.
Yep. Going to have unlocked frame rates, but just like all Sony properties from here on out, also you have to have a PSN account.
Yeah,
So,
they're gonna get you there.
but so yeah, for those who
Oh,
can't
big
play,
deal.
that's a
You know,
tragedy.
people.
Well, that's how you track your trophies, right? All right.
Yeah,
Then
which is actually kind of a big deal. It's a bigger deal on PlayStation, in my opinion, than any other platform. Like, I feel like Sony does it the best. We can litigate that another time, maybe. So anyway, going on, Dynasty Warriors Origins coming next year. Looks pretty cool. I feel like maybe it was a couple years ago, somebody was saying that there needs to be a new Dynasty Warriors on this new hardware because there hadn't been one since. Was there one on PS4? I don't remember.
yeah, I've stopped paying attention. I mean, there's games like it all the time. Now, I'm just glad it's like, hey, we're not doing the Yellow Turban Rebellion. Awesome. Uh,
Yeah,
there's only so many times I could do that.
one
No,
more.
it looks good. I'm kind of curious how it'll turn out, but those games are always mindless fun. I hope that they actually do enough to make it really unique. Um,
Yeah.
I was not really too. I didn't care about the Switch ones that came out, Fire Emblem and Hyrule Warriors.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
yeah, because those were Muso games as well.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, so a full big boy version of these games will be able to do something really good, I think, or at
Well,
least I hope.
we'll see. I feel like if it's like place like it was on PlayStation 2 that I remember, that I think that type of game is kind of past, but there's a lot of new technology, and I'm sure if they can make it feel good to kill 20 people at one time, then I'm all in.
I mean, back then you were able to do couch co-op, which was also
Yeah.
super awesome. Unfortunately, you can't do that with it's just too much for to handle. But yeah, I think it'll be interesting to say the least. But yeah, also interesting. Why don't you let us know about your wonderful Infinity Nikki obsession?
Yeah, this is the first biographical game based on my life. Uh, so please buy it because I get 0.0000001% of all sales. Always take the percentage, no matter how small. Anyway, yeah, it's an open world RPG. Infinity Nikki. Getting a beta test sometime in Q3 2024, so later this year. Looks pretty. It's a pretty looking game. It looks bright and happy, and for that I am glad that they decided to depict my life exactly the opposite of the way that it actually is. Yeah. Anyways, this game looks cute.
Except for being chained up at the end, because the end of that's pretty accurate.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah. Yeah. So anyway, so that is coming out. Actually, when the trailer was playing, I was like, okay, that's not really my type of game, but it looks nice. Yeah, are you gonna play that, Joe?
It reminds me of was it Precious Moments Come to Life, and it's just like, yeah, that's some nightmare fuel right there. Uh,
Okay.
it's yeah, not happening. Actually, it's one of those things that's like, I actually want to know what the real gameplay is, other than which seems to be a voyeur aspect, which
Yeah.
I mean does also check to your lifestyle. I mean, I know you're a big cameraman.
Um,
You know,
there's a lot
looking
of
at like
symbolism in there.
because at first I'm like, is this just a really creepy Pokemon Snap? I mean,
Oh yeah, it's funny,
yeah. So
dude.
it's just like, well, like I said, it's like it's all happy lucky, and then at the very end they're like, and there's just someone just chained, and it's like we're gonna give this dark and brooding moment at the very end just to give it a plot twist. I'm like, wow, all right, guys.
Okay.
Yeah, all right. Next we have oh, was it Where Winds Meet?
Yeah.
I'm trying to remember this. Which one was this one again?
Apparently, this was announced at Gamescom opening night, in 2023. So they're saying it's coming to PS5 too. So it must be something. It must be coming somewhere else as well. It looks all right. It looks like a fighter, sort of like a 1v1 type fighter, but not a fighting game, if you know what I mean. Um, it
Is
looks.
this the one with that lone wolf and cub like main character?
I don't think so. I think that's different, but I could be wrong.
Oh
Uh,
no, my bad. This is the Dark Souls one. I
yeah.
had the two games mixed up for a hot second.
Anyway,
Um,
yeah.
yeah. This one looked like it was
Martial arts
the art
adventure game.
style was pretty interesting to say the least.
Yeah. So set in the Ten Kingdoms era. It's a martial arts adventure game. Um, looks okay. Probably won't. I probably won't play this, but it looks like it won't be bad, at least.
Pulling this up real quick, just it said it's also supposed to be it just says platform Microsoft Windows. So
Oh, maybe it's coming there first or something.
yeah. All
Um,
right. Well, if it comes to Game Pass, then maybe. I'll give it a shot. But it's one of the things that looks good, but I'll probably get my teeth kicked in, so I probably won't play it.
yeah, for real.
Or play it till I hit that wall, and I'm like, yeah, probably not going over that. So, all right, what do you got next?
Next is Ballad of Antara, and it's described as a high fidelity, free to play action RPG, and it's coming out later. Later, it's going to be coming out next year.
And this is the one I was mentioning before because the trailer shows the kid just riding on this dude's back
Yeah,
as he's fighting, and I was just like, is this supposed? And I was getting like lone wolf and cub like vibes from it, and then it turned out at the very end that there's multiple people you can play with. It looks like there's like at least 4 different characters.
yeah.
So
I mean, it definitely has some really cool looking characters, both that you can play, both I guess the main characters and enemies. A lot of interesting differentiated environments. Um, free to play is sounds bad to me, but
well,
if it's
that was the weird part.
but
I
if it's
was not
still
expecting that. Yeah.
but if it's still single player, if they're still aiming for story based gameplay, and emphasis on story, then free to play could work. It sounds like it would be almost episodic. Um, Not that really anyone's doing that anymore, but basically the new age of that. That could work. That could be cool.
All right. And
So next up, looks like I missed one. Silent Hill. Not Silent Hill. The Walking Dead, Saints and Sinners. That's it. So
it's Behemoth. Yeah.
yeah, I'm reading from an IGN article as well. I don't know why they put it that way. Anyway, there is a new game called Behemoth coming out on VR, and it's from, as I started to say, the Walking Dead Saints and Sinners developer, from Skydance
Skydance.
Games. Yeah, and
Yeah,
I don't really know.
they've advertised this one a while ago. So this has been kind of PSVR fans kind of been hoping for this one for a while. It's gameplay looks like it's going to be something along the lines of it's like a better Elder Scrolls is the most generic way for me to put it down, right?
Okay,
So
Elder Scrolls in VR, but better.
yeah,
Okay.
well, because already it's they already have Skyrim in VR.
Yeah.
And to have a good update, better quality, especially with PSVR 2 haptics and eye tracking, all that stuff, it should be really good to see. Now, Saints and Sinners, so we're not. I don't really know if we're going to talk too much about it, but currently they have the Sony's now going to be adding to their premium PlayStation Plus tier a handful of new games. And 2 of the games they're adding is Saints and Sinners 1 and 2, chapters 1 and 2, which is phenomenal. It's probably one of the best one of the best VR games out there just currently. And the PSVR 2 version is really solid. So coming from this team is already very much looked at in high regards, and for them to be coming out with a new thing altogether. Now Behemoth has some interesting character design. It's very much a tundra like landscape, and you have what looks like a giant with the head of like an elephant seal. So it's pretty interesting. They also showed a different type of behemoth at the very end as well. But it's almost, you get the Shadow of the Colossus kind of vibes from it, just how small you are in aspect to the behemoth or the monster.
Mhm.
But also you have other human, size enemies to face as well. So yeah, not a lot of extra has been really said about this, but it has been highly anticipated for a long time, and they finally gave an actual like gameplay footage, because they showed a trailer forever ago, and they're like, okay, great, cinematic doesn't do us darn good, you know.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, this is, like I said, this is one of those major ones from someone who has a track record of making solid games for the PlayStation VR, and a lot of high hopes. Uh,
So you're
I'm
pretty
not a
excited
fan of
about
this
this
style.
as a not
Well,
just as a game, but like as a game for PSVR 2.
yeah. So I'm not a big fan of uh like the Elder Scrolls style game. I just, there's something about it that just doesn't fit with me personally. But knowing that it's from them, like, I am really excited just to see what they can do.
Yeah.
Because they've set kind of the bar pretty high especially with the Saints and Sinners. Like, they made a really awesome Walking Dead game. Because out there's been a lot of garbage Walking Dead games, but just overall, like, the VR mechanics of it was just really solid. And then they went ahead and upgraded Chapter One, which was on PSVR, to they upgraded it to the PSVR 2, and that upgrade was a really solid upgrade. And of course, Chapter 2 is also phenomenal. It's probably, like I said, those are some of the best games, especially shooters, that you have on the PSVR 2. So yeah, expect, like, it wouldn't be a surprise to expect good things from them. Just as always, temper expectations, because if you hope too much, you're just going to wind up getting hurt.
Always
So
expect games to be terrible. Always
yeah.
expect
So
games, movies, basically expect your life to be terrible and you'll never be disappointed.
yeah. And speaking of expecting things to be terrible, uh, always think about an Aliens franchise to come out with something terrible.
You know, I was thinking something similar. And speaking of that, Alien Rogue Incursion also coming out for PSVR 2. It was one of the things that they showed here on this state of play. Looks like an Alien game. I kind of tuned out a little bit on this one because I was also making dinner as I was watching this. But yeah, so we'll see. I feel like with Alien games, it's like hit or miss, and I feel like even games that I hear are bad, end up also hearing that they were really good. Like the
Isolation.
well, Isolation people said was great. Like, oh, this is great or good or like very good.
It came out very middling
Okay.
originally, but then it wasn't until after the fact that people have come back and really
Uh,
appreciate it.
okay.
And
I feel like
that's
what I
when the
was listening to, the people I was listening to were saying, "Oh, it's a really good game," but maybe we were hearing different stuff. I don't know. I'm just thinking of the Fire Trooper or whatever
Fire
game,
Team.
yeah, Fire Team that people said was awful, and then I heard some people saying, "No, it's really good, but you have to play it this way," or something. So that is whatever. I don't know. I don't know what this is going to be, how good this is going to be, but it is coming out, so we'll see.
So yeah, that's the as far as Aliens game go. Like, it's been rumored for a while that there was an Aliens game coming out, and so people were a lot of people were originally thinking it was going to be Isolation ported over,
Oh,
and then for the 1 year anniversary of the PlayStation VR 2, Sony kind of showed, talked about a few things, and then they just showed the logo. That was it. They, as the trailer, they just showed the title screen, and that was it. They're like,
Yeah.
not a single image or anything else, just to say, hey, it's coming out.
Yeah.
And this is the first time we actually get to see anything about it. Not a lot to go off of, and it's just gonna be, there was distinct sounds of the Marine machine gun firing in the background. So like, oh, there might be action, but they didn't really show much action itself. So it could just be a survival horror kind of aspect, like Isolation was. Who knows? Too early to tell. But I
Well,
would like it to be good. I like Aliens,
we want all
but
games to be good.
but the just like new James Cameron 4K Alien like remaster, that thing is not so great because
Just leave it
of AI
alone.
upscaling.
People just leave it alone. I'm more excited for Alien Romulus than I am for this game, but that's out of the scope of this podcast. So, there it is.
Yeah, well, unfortunately, James Cameron just came out with like, was it The Abyss,
I did hear about that
T2,
coming back. Yeah.
and Aliens, and used AI to do the 4K upscaling, denoising, and all that stuff. And there, it is fine if you don't pay attention, but if you look really close, skin just doesn't look right. The AI generates faces all jacked up in the background. Vasquez coming into the scene like has like skull face,
Okay.
at some points because it can't register
Don't.
small details.
So anyone listening to this, don't make the mistake. I'll call it the George Lucas mistake of using new technology to fundamentally change everything about what you're working on as soon as it comes out. Like, don't do that. You're not. You have to understand the technology first, and that just sounds like what James Cameron is doing the same thing. It's like, oh, we got this AI, we can upscale everything. Let's do it, and then just plastering it all over everything, and ruining it. And also, don't mess with the past. That's probably the biggest George Lucas mistake is just leave the past. Just let it be, man. Just let it be.
Well, I mean, it's okay to have film grain, and it's okay to, if you're using the proper negative, the actual film reels, and you're taking the time to do a proper 4K, then that's great. Don't cut corners. Stop trying to save yourself some time. Do it right, because Alien, that when they made the 4K jump for that, looks amazing.
Interesting.
The Aliens, unfortunately, not so much.
Well, see, the thing is, and I don't want to get off on this, but what I have read is that for all the old films that had a wide release or were produced by a major studio, basically they had good cameras that they used, even though they're film cameras, that 8K is going to be the last stop for those old movies. Like the original reels can be expanded out to basically 8K or maybe just under 8K. So 4K should be fine. So I don't really know why they're having to AI upscale, but maybe what I read was incorrect or I'm not remembering it right.
I heard the same thing, but I heard 4K was going to be the hard wall for a lot of stuff.
Okay.
A lot of the common things, like things that had the big massive budgets, can go to 4K or to 8K. But for the average thing, 4K is about as good as you're going to get. This is just a matter of, I honestly believe, cutting corners to try to turn a profit.
Okay.
I mean, James Cameron doesn't care anymore. He's all about the the Navi life, and
He's
he
living
just doesn't care.
that Navi life.
I mean,
Well, as long
he's
as
trying to be under the water all the time, under the sea.
he keeps
Much better.
bringing me them blue people running around naked in the woods, then I guess that's all I need him for. Okay, gonna push on Marvel Rivals, coming to PS5, closed beta set for July. Looks like another like a Marvel Overwatch. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they had indestructible environments, which is kind of neat. but yeah, it was uh, they said we are Venom, yay. Um, this one has supposed to have combination both attacks and like different abilities, so you and your team can synergize. That's kind of cool.
Synergy.
Uh, yeah. I
It's a
forget
nice
it
corporate
was one of those
word.
Marvel Ultimate Alliance on the 360. That was always super cool, but that was like a Baldur's Gate style game. But it was always like you could use Cyclops and blast at like Wolverine, and his claws will spread the laser beam into like multiple death rays. Or same with Captain America's shield. I mean, so that they're doing new things with superpowers. Cool.
I mean, it
But
has a
looks
good
like
looking aesthetic. I'll say that. Like they took some time and made some good art, or they.
you talk about how they Shojoed Galactus at the end,
Oh
and they
yeah,
just made Galactus
I
into an
looked
anime
up.
girl.
I was taking the trash out, and I looked up, and I was like, "That's a girl Galactus."
So Kotobukiya makes the Shojo line where they take all the male characters and they make them into female variants of them,
Yeah,
they're very high quality um, model action figures. Yeah, and I'm like, oh man, that was hilarious.
I
'Cause
was
I
like,
forgot
"What?"
who that was. I'm like, who's that? I'm like, oh, it's Galactus. That's who it's supposed to be. Uh,
Oh man, that's some messed up
and so
stuff.
Nick's down for day one. So long.
I'm gonna get the figure. I'm not gonna. I'm not gonna get the game though, because the figure can always be enjoyed. All right.
All right, Nick can join the figures. Yep. All right, and then after that was they talked about the remake for Until Dawn.
Oh, so is this a
Uh,
remake? Okay. I was wondering how they got those actors back for Until Dawn 2.
well,
Um,
this is they've already mentioned this before in the past too. We've
okay.
talked about it then. They just showed more footage. That's all, and they had a very bad version of I can't remember what song now. They did the slow brooding
Oh,
thing of
it was, yeah.
uh,
Uh, Eagle Eye Cherry, right? Stay tonight.
that's right. My
I was
wife was
like,
so
that
angry when
is,
she heard this. She's like, "This is so dumb."
I was like, this is not what that song is about. Like, that song is not about murder.
But they're talking about making it till morning and stuff. So yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Uh,
If I had to
it's a
break,
good. Did you ever get to play the original Until
no,
Dawn?
no, I heard great
Okay.
things about it. I heard that it should have been longer too, but yeah.
Uh, I think it's just long enough,
Okay.
and I think it's actually decent length for what it is. I mean, it's a fun story. It's the right kind of stupid, and it does a lot of things well.
It has
You can
like
see why
it has an Academy Award winner in it now.
they had a
uh,
lot of people in it actually. Yeah, it's one of those things that they had. What's that? Yeah, because what's his face from Bohemian? Uh,
Rami Malek, I think that's his name.
yeah, probably. I can't remember anyone's name anymore. But they had quite a few big names in that one, and once again, solid. I'm kind of curious. I feel like they're just doing this more of a like they're trying to get a tech demo out or something. I don't know. I don't really. I feel that they needed to make a current gen version of this. Uh,
Yeah,
but hey, I mean, if you've missed it, why not enjoy the best looking version of it?
yeah.
Um, yeah, all
Why
right.
not?
Then after this, the next game I looked at, I'm like, it took me a while to figure out what it was because I'm like, this is a Diablo game, and then eventually, oh, that's what this is. Yep.
Yeah.
So Path of Exile 2, uh, now multiplayer, and so that's kind of neat. That's going to be like supposed to be couch co-op. Uh,
Mm,
so that's the big draw, I think.
for you, yeah.
Path of Exile is a solid game, has always been, and they know what they're doing. So if you want anything that's Diablo like, but you don't want Diablo, then there you go. You have a really good option. Or but at the same time, maybe you're just all burnt out on Baldur's Gate. You want something else. There, how for everything I've been told though, Baldur's Gate is like the be all end all. Um, but yeah, Path of Exile, totally worth if you like that kind of RPG. Uh, I don't think you can really go wrong. Well, at least I hope not. There's always an exception to that rule, but they've done good until now, and hopefully they'll continue to do good.
That's good.
All
That's good.
right.
Um,
And
Go ahead.
Leon, right? You saw Leon in this next one.
Yeah,
He
basically.
totally, he looks a lot like Leon now, but no, it's Silent Hill 2 remake. I was like,
I wish they gotten
that
Sean Bean.
dude,
So
that first movie was actually pretty solid. I
he
never
could
saw the
die
second
again.
one.
Yeah, the second one I think was
He
just sort
didn't
of
die.
not in
He
that one.
lived.
Yeah,
Oh,
unless
okay.
he was already dead.
Oh no, that was the other people in that story. They died. They were the dead ones.
He comes
Uh,
home and it's kind of weird. But anyway, Silent Hill 2 remake has a release date. People are saying October 8th and coming to PC and PS5. I am not encouraged by this trailer. I wasn't super encouraged by the first couple trailers that I saw, but I was going to reserve judgment. And now I am getting the feeling that they are making this game too bright and too action oriented. I know that's probably the money making choice is to make this game a bit more, kill rather than run. But I don't think that's gonna stand the test of time like the old ones have. So that is remains to be seen how good it will be. But I think if it goes in that direction, I'm not super enthused.
yeah. So they actually released a separate video, like a 13-minute gameplay trailer, and it shows you a lot more of it. Yeah, it is more action oriented, and I think that's the problem. They they kind of want to be. It's like you want to be more like Resident Evil remakes, right? But Silent Hill's not that. It's never been that. It's always, and that's, I think they're missing the mark because of that. So
Yeah,
it is one of those. Plus, also when you're messing with nostalgia, it's like it is literally held as one of the best horror games, just flat out. Like it is a hallmark, like a thing.
yeah.
So
People have always talked about how it's psychological horror. It's a deeper cutting horror. Like Resident Evil has good scares in it, especially those first two. But it lends itself more to the action genre a bit easier. Where it's like, yeah, I'm here for the scares, but the action's good too. Um, Whereas Silent Hill, it almost needs to have less, and if I were Konami, I would be like, okay, we're gonna make the gameplay fun, but we're gonna spend our money on the actors. Like we're gonna spend our money on the writing, and we're gonna make it really. We're gonna we're gonna give credence to those first games and how they were made, and clean them up a bit. Maybe make it more for modern day in that sense. But the soul of it, we're gonna stick with, and that's the writing and the psychological horror. And I just don't think that they're gonna do that here.
yeah, but unfortunately, it's not. It's of course, that's not Konami making it. It's Blooper Team. Blooper Team's the guys who did the Medium, which got kind of like a love hate thing.
Oh
It
yeah,
looked neat. Not a lot of people liked, or like people thought it wasn't as good as it should have been, and then a lot of people got criticized because it kind of cribbed a lot of its ideas from real artists, like historical things. Um, and then they did Layers of Fear, and was it Observer? Which Observer was solid,
people
and the
liked
original Layers of
Observer.
Fear was solid. Observer had it was like um, what's his name? It was like from Blade Runner. It was his last work, I think.
Yeah. Oh, Philip K. Dick,
No, not the author, actor for Blade Runner.
Harrison Ford.
The no, the replicant, the main replicant.
Oh,
Yeah,
that
he was
I forget that
his
guy's
main.
name. He's like German
And once you get,
or something, Danish, something like
yeah,
that.
so but anyways, that's the thing is like they made some early stuff, but then the median kind of came out with middling reviews, and so but they've always been a different size team. I mean, so that's kind of is one of those things that they might be missing the mark, and I'm skeptical. I guess
I mean,
I'm a little
like
less hopeful than other things.
like the developer, they're gonna make you know, they are going to, throw the touchdown or hit the home run or whatever. They're going to do the work, but the buck has to stop with Konami, and because they're the one who's going to.
Konami don't give a damn, dude.
I know, I
That
know,
last Metal Gear game was hot
I
garbage.
know, but
Survives.
I know that they don't care, but that doesn't mean that they don't get their feet held to the fire. Um, it's their property, and the buck has to stop with them. Who they pick to do it, what they allow to be released, the checks that they do on it. Yeah, this is just kind of like what you were already about to say. Is like they don't care, and they're just trying to make a buck off of it. Well, we'll see. I hope it's good, and they might have a front facing trailer here where it's like we're gonna get new people in to play it for the action, and then come for the action, stay for the horror. Maybe that's what they're gaming for. That's all we can really hope for, I think, at this point.
Have you ever played the original Silent Hill 2?
I've not. It's on my list.
All right, we should have you do that. That'd be pretty great. Because you haven't had that spoiled for you either, right?
Sort of, maybe not.
Okay.
I don't think it would be. I don't think it would be completely surprising to me, but I
Yeah.
don't. I don't have it at the front of my mind what actually happens, and I'd like to keep it that way.
Sure. Yeah, for sure. So we should have you play that. That'd be awesome.
I actually have it. I think I have. Did I buy that? I think I have Silent Hill 2 on PS2. Yeah, I do. I do. So I could play it. I need to get my CRT from storage. But I could do that. I think I could even hook it up and stream.
That'd
off
be
it.
cool. That would be super cool.
I don't think I'm all the way ready. I think I need one more little component, but it's not very expensive. Anyway, it is possible. It is on my list. I should probably do that this summer. Anyway.
All right. Let's come up with summer projects for Nick. That'd be awesome.
Yeah. I just need more summer projects.
Bring your PlayStation, bring Silent Hill, and when you go to Yosemite, sit your mom in the evenings and let her play Silent Hill with you, and they really give her the terror in the woods there. If you thought bears were scary.
Yeah, for real.
All right. Speaking about wilderness, all right, Monster Hunter Wilds. This looks like to be what the new Monster Hunter World's kind of concept, the open map and a lot of mounts and stuff like that. So that's kind of cool.
Yeah, seems to be the flagship Monster Hunter game, the new flagship Monster Hunter game coming out. There's been a couple, Switch games that like Rise and stuff that looked like they're probably kind of fun. Ones I wanted to play, but just never top of the list. Yeah, this, I missed Worlds. This one I would like to play. But this is going to be one of those games like Worlds that you got to have a squad for, I think. So if you or anybody wants to form up a squad and try to play this regularly, I would definitely be down for it. But until then, anyway, it looks cool. It looks good.
Yeah, I really got into Worlds because we had a second PlayStation 4, and so my wife and I were able to play. We had a couple of other friends in rotation that we'd be able to play with quite often. And then as in a group, you always have the one person who never comes prepared, who's always like, "Let me switch my new weapon. Let me try out this new thing." Like, dude, switch on your own damn time.
Yeah, dude.
When you're playing with us, we're here to main and not carry your ass the entire time. And I still make fun of that person to this day. I'm like, dude, playing with you sucked.
I'll
Like,
never be
it
that
was
guy.
just, yeah, like he's like never allowed to do that again. You want to experiment on your new weapon and do it in your own damn time.
Yeah.
No, for sure. Totally could see getting into this game again. I didn't really get to uh, the expansion Horfrost area. I can't remember if that was Horfrost Reach.
Icebound or
Um,
something. Wasn't that the DLC?
yeah, my
Anyway,
brain goes to like Iceborne or something. But that's not right.
Iceborne might
Uh,
be it.
it might be okay. I just know that it was. We had some fun in it, but we by that time we were already kind of like burnt out. I think
Mm.
the though you do get, if you have save data from those two, your Palico does get to have new equipment, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
That was one of the things they teased at the end. I was hoping for Palamutes from the Monster Hunter Rise. Uh, they're Malamutes, but your Palico instead,
Yeah.
and you get to ride them. But I guess that'd make it too easy. The whole point of it is they seem to like want you to change up your riding style. I don't think they showed any of the grapple hook mechanics like they had in Monster Hunter Rise. So,
Mm.
you know, so we'll see.
Maybe that'll be
May,
maybe that you have to purchase that in the DLC. This game looks pretty great. The fighting looks good. The riding of there's quite a bit extended footage on him riding some sort of monster in front of other monsters that are stampeding and taking stuff down. So that stuff all looks very cool. I hope it's adequately complex, but also somewhat digestible. I hope that they ease you into that a bit. But anyway, looks good. Form up your squads, guys. Get ready.
I want to be able to get Ryu again. That was super stupid and super great to have that costume. Um, like they had really fun with the Monster Hunter World, and yeah, I can see this being really good. All right, and the last game was Astrobot. Uh, did you ever get the chance to play Astro's Playroom?
No, I have not played it yet. I will probably play it in the somewhat future,
Yeah,
though, maybe.
free on all PlayStations. So
Yeah.
PS5s. Um, so yeah, Astrobot Rescue Mission was the originally on the PS VR. So a lot of people were really hoping that PSVR one has the Astrobot Rescue or Astro Rescue Bot. Good God, and people have been wanting that to be ported over, uh, for a very long time, and everyone's super angry that this game isn't a hybrid game. Being flat screen PS5 and also PSVR 2.
Yeah.
Um, like I don't see a problem with why can't you do that? Like give a little more love to the PSVR community, and they might come out with their rescue missions too or something like that. But I mean, they've been marketing Astrobot as the new Sackboy for a while. You know, a cute little dude that mascot like character who dresses up as other characters now. Because especially in this trailer, they showed him as Kratos. I'm pretty sure they showed a Cloud character in the background. They just dressed up as a few others, and I'm like, yeah, totally Sackboy. You're literally reskinning uh, your
Big
Astrobot to
head,
look like
small
other
body.
things.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, trying to make that money, trying to sell some plushies.
Yeah, but the uh, Astro's Playroom is a solid piece of free game, and it's also probably one of the best little things for the PSVR one for the rescue missions. So also very high expectations for this. like like stupidly so. It's like you shouldn't like in a normal on paper. If I said like if I were to look at this, I'm like with a different property, I'm like no way I'm going to be excited about that. But this is actually like wow, this is actually kind of cool, and can't wait to see it because they execute very well. Zima Asobi, I think it is,
Yeah.
which is a lot of former Studio Japan members.
Hmm.
Uh, so a lot of creative people, and so very excited. Be excited. That's a safe bet. So, all right. What's the last bit of news you got?
Okay, last bit of news. I just thought it was kind of interesting. Sony apologizes to Neil Druckmann for basically over editing his interview that was released. I don't really know exactly what people got weirded out about or mad about, but apparently they were like, "Hey, Neil Druckmann's saying," I think it was something about like that the next game was going to change gaming completely or something like that. And he was like, "No, didn't really say that." Anyway, so Sony had edited the interview to kind of change some stuff around, and they had to come out and apologize about that. So I thought it was important to kind of say that for reasons.
Yeah. In fact, I think we mentioned it last time because, yeah, that was the big bit.
He had he was talking about he had some sort of like talk that he did, but I think this was different. I think this had to do with an interview, but similar. He was saying something similar, but not quite the same. Anyway, yeah.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, yeah, it's unfortunate that we only got the truncated version. But yeah, apparently, because I think the quote is that they found several significant errors
Um,
and inaccuracies. So, yeah, Neil Druckmann is the uh, you know he's with Naughty Dog, the Last of Us. So that's when it comes to misquoting someone from who's kind of like really important when it comes to some of the best games out there.
mhm.
Yeah, you don't want to make it look like they're overselling or overpromising, kind of like how a lot of people keep on looking at Microsoft and talking about how the next piece of hardware is going to be like the most what was that, biggest graphical leap in history.
Yeah.
I think is what the quote was. I'm like, ooh, you're gonna regret those for
No,
sure.
dude.
But yeah,
No, dude. Don't say that. Don't say that. Yeah.
yeah. All right. Well, hey, good on Sony for at least openly apologizing. Not just trying to
No, it's good that they
push
ran it
on the
back. That
table.
they were like, "Hey, yeah, we messed up here." Um, I think it's just good to also keep track of when they do that because I just think it's important.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, we have gone like stupid long for this, so we're just gonna end up wrapping this up this time and getting talk about what we've been playing and what we've been watching the next time around. So, yeah, thanks if you've made it this far. Jesus, what are you doing? I guess you just have us in the background, but
Just
hopefully we're keeping you company as you like sleep at your desk, uh, listening to the soothe, sultry sounds of Nick's voice.
the boss is
Uh,
coming. The boss is coming. Wake up. Wake up, Jimmy.
yeah, quick, yeah. Turn down the speakers, take out the earbuds. But yeah, all right, guys. Well, Nick, until next time, what words of wisdom do you have for the people out there?
Don't mess with the old stuff that you did. That's don't pull a George Lucas. I'll just short it to that. Don't pull a George Lucas.
My favorite quote I heard was George Lucas once ate a sandwich, and ever since then, he's been eating condiments to try to make that sandwich better. And that's kind of how I feel about him remastering his old stuff.
It's pretty accurate.
Um,
Pretty accurate.
all right. Well, y'all, until next time, take it easy.
Bye.